Oh, is that the new?
Okay.
I did read it.
Would you please stand to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am in receipt of the state's open meeting notice, so we are here, and then doing it the right way, in compliance, yes, thank you. And I don't see anybody on our, nope. And Mr. Lewis is excused for the evening, so we'll begin with the minutes from May 26th.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes from May 26, 2016.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to warrants.
Make a motion, we accept payroll warrant number 47 in the amount of $31,988.30.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I make a motion, we accept payroll warrant number 48 in the amount of $31,908.90.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I make a motion, we accept general warrant number 21 in the amount of $62,586.79.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Quarterly reports.
I make a motion that we accept the quarterly reports from the Board of Canvassers and the Land Trust.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to old business, review of Gloucester resolution, removing capital expenditures from maintenance of effort. We had discussed at the last meeting that we would look at that further, Gloucester resolution. The wording wasn't quite what we were looking for.
Get a motion to get it on the floor for a discussion.
Well, that's not ours, that's the school department's.
This
So
one?
so we do not have a resolution at this time. So I'm going to ask that we move that to a future agenda item. I move it.
For a future meeting?
For a future meeting, for further discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So Cheryl made the motion and Gordon seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the Welcome to Foster sign proposal. Mr. Estivo.
So I submitted to the board an updated sign submission criteria, very similar to what was submitted at the last meeting, except we did add the option for people to submit a design as well, so the actual physical sign. After meeting with Superintendent Dr. Barnes, we figured out that they have a laser engraver at the high school that they can actually use to manufacture signs. So if you have any design of the sign, so it won't show color, but it sort of etches into what it looks like when the burnt wood works with metal as well. So he suggested that we open it up to that as well, and I thought it seemed like a good idea. So that's been added. And I also added language reserving the town council's right to reject a sign if it's inappropriate, vulgar, or offensive. And made it clear that signs become the property of the town upon submission. I did not fill in a contact person for any questions. I didn't want to volunteer. But you know, so I'd be happy to put my name down and the clerk would be willing
If you
to.
want to chat with me a little
Yeah, maybe we can,
Email, to email, at least that's
Mm.
easy. Don't get a phone call.
yeah, yeah. But, so, yeah, so apart from that, I think these are fairly complete.
So do I have a motion to accept this sign submission criteria?
So,
I'll second that.
Thank you. Further discussion. How is this going to be disseminated?
So it's gonna go up on the town's website. I'm going to send it to the school committees, for them to disseminate to the students as well. And then we'll look to, put it up on social media.
Is it something that you might want to include in the Foster Home Journal, perhaps as our town council
All right.
newsletter, if you will, the column that we have, that might be something to be put.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You know, interject on that, she's, because of the 4th of July holiday coming
It's
up,
the
she has an
17th.
earlier deadline, but
Okay.
we get something into her
It's the
Ready?
Monday
17th.
or
Yep.
tomorrow or something.
All right.
Ron had his hand up in the.
No, that was it, Foster Home Journal.
So do you have this, you must have it as a Word document?
Yeah.
So if you send it to myself or John, we can submit it to, I don't know when John's due back, but we can submit it as a column.
All right, I'll send it to you just in case.
Okay, great. Any other further discussion?
I would just want to say thank you. I think
Yeah.
this is a great idea. Thank you for putting so much time in
It'll be interesting. So, any other further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to tax treaty, Foster Solar. So again, Mr. Steve, you've worked along with Kelly and Jane and Patty on this, and Renee.
And Juliana.
Juliana.
Who did I say?
Jane.
Oh,
Sorry, I was
Jane,
looking at
yes,
you.
Jane.
It was a J. I was looking at you. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Estivo.
So this agreement is substantially similar to the agreement that we presented at the last meeting. There were some changes to the amount that the town will be getting paid. The annual amount that we'd be getting for the installation is $8,765, which is a decent amount more than the initial proposal. It does no longer include payments to the land trust. The term of the agreement is for 15 years. We arrived at the final annual figure through a formula that I think Juliana is probably more equipped to explain. It's
It's based on the panels,
based on,
the cost of the panels, because they're the most expensive part of the equipment.
but the overall idea was to come up with a formula that could be consistently applied if we elected to grant these to other companies in the future. As I think everyone's aware, there's also a state law that's in the works. It's still unsettled. The most recent version, it looks like, has the Office of Energy Resources developing taxing criteria for communities based on agreements that have been entered into, a per kilowatt capacity standard, and sort of taking into account a number of different factors. But we believe that this agreement would not be affected by that.
Okay. Juliana, do you have anything you want to say?
No.
Sure. Discussion?
I think it's pretty good.
Do we want, first of all, how about a motion?
Actually,
Hurry up.
it's,
How about a motion? Do we have
I
a
would like to
motion?
make a motion to accept the tax stabilization agreement presented in front of us tonight.
Second?
Thank you. Now we can have discussion.
May I ask a question? John, are you satisfied? You think this covers everything that you wanted to include or cover?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think that this particular project, when you're looking at land that was in farm forest and open space that's not targeted for really commercial development, that's going to continue to be used for agricultural uses, that has a pretty low profile in terms of its location. I think that there are a lot of things that make this project in particular appealing. The reason why the state is passing the law is because these sorts of projects don't work without, and while, you know, when we got the appraisal back, numbers for how much we would be getting in annual tax, which did seem very high, it's sort of, you know, chasing, it's not realistic to think that these projects move forward with that kind of tax liability. So in terms of compared to other communities and the types of agreements, I think we're on the higher end compared to some other communities. So.
I think I know we are.
Mrs. Ryder?
So this will set a precedent for all future green energy projects in the town?
I don't think it's a binding precedent, but I think it creates a framework to negotiate in. But like I said, I think there are some unique characteristics of this project that make it more appealing than necessarily other projects. But certainly nothing obligates the council to enter into these agreements with anyone else.
So what you're saying, John, is another solar farm that comes in isn't gonna approach the council and say, when we gave it to these guys, we want the same deal.
Oh, I expect they will, but they're not entitled to it.
Really?
And all indications at this point are that this agreement is more generous for the town than the amount of taxes we'd be getting under the state law. So there are benefits to entering into it purely in terms of revenue, but we may be quickly approaching the point where the town has no discretion over how much it gets in revenue from these projects.
Well, obviously, this is there isn't anybody that's more pro-business than I am, but to me, this is really not a business, all right? We're not employing anyone. They're just making money and getting grant money, but just for the future. Other towns, like you said, you've checked other towns. I drive past Route 94 and I do head to the city where there's other towns. And a lot of the towns are getting tax revenue up front for a treaty, where in future cases in Forster, we can use the money today, not over 20 years, a little bit, just for consideration next time. And some town of North Province is putting a relatively big one, and they negotiated a deal that the municipal buildings receive free electric with a treaty. We're in the position to negotiate. I'm a businessman, but I'm looking at the town as being on the business side of it, just for future references. So it's something to throw out there.
Yeah, and I did explore that purchasing energy. We do already have an energy purchase agreement with another company where we got, I think, Kelly, after looking at it, satisfied all of our current electric needs. So that was an avenue we did consider. But the other alternative of getting the money up front, that is a good suggestion for future agreements to consider as well.
But you also, can I just throw in, you also have to, you probably don't know the particulars of each of those. You got a landowner a lot of times here, you know, and you're a landowner, so you know, we can't tell a landowner what to do, and neither can we tell a business what to do. You know, say you either do this or else. I mean, you can't just tell them what they have to do. People have the ability to use their land. If the business that's coming in or the service that's coming in is not prohibited, they kind of have a right to come in too. You can't hold them hostage, you can't demand either.
Well, you're negotiating a deal.
Yeah.
They're in front of you negotiating a tax break. I'll give you a tax break under these conditions. We're negotiating in good faith. You guys have a reason to.
And here we're getting as much or more than.
I'm just saying for future stuff, I don't know the particulars of this, so I can't come at it that way, but if someone's looking for something, I think the town should get something in return. I don't see what I'm getting in return right now. Well, you know, they're getting a tax break. My personal taxes are 2.5 times this. I should come in front of the board and get a tax break too. Just saying, if you know where I'm going with this. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, and that's why I think, that especially for projects that are being planned in areas where there's a lot of potential for additional revenue, over the, assuming there's commercial development, it might make sense to, be a lot more aggressive, or even to flat out to refuse to enter into such a.
Thanks, John. On the same page there.
Thank you.
Patty has her hand up.
Patty?
This basically is not a tax break, this is a tax stabilization.
Mhm.
So we weren't getting this money and giving them a break, getting more money from this. We're actually getting more money now than we would have the way the land was before.
Okay, so is it, they obviously, just explain to me, because I don't know. So they're locked in at $8,700 a year, is that the number?
Yes,
Okay, so the way at $8,700 a year, the way we go up every year almost 4%, so it's a $300 savings over 20 years. These guys are getting into business and can't afford $6,000 over 20 years.
Farm forest land.
What's that?
This
It's,
is farm forest.
it's farm
land.
forest right now, they're bringing in on a 5-acre lot about $22 a year.
I get that, but that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the solar farm that's coming in. Who's paying the taxes, the solar people or the landowner?
the solar.
I rest my case. So the solar people who are supposedly in business are coming to this town looking for a $6,000 savings over 20 years. In my book, if you can't afford $6,000 in business over 20 years, you don't need to be in business. So I look at it as, we're giving them a break for what reason? To say that we're bringing business into town, it's not General Motors. It's a little, and that's only opening the door for every other 5-acre landowner that's gonna do that. Okay, that's just putting it out there, that's just my feelings, okay? Just look at the numbers in reality.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business. Request from Thornton Beagle Club for Class F liquor license.
I make a motion that we accept the request to give the Thornton, where is it, Thornton Eagle Club, the Class S liquor license on June 16th, 2016.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on, tax bill presentation. I'm the one who requested this to be on the agenda after our last meeting and discussion as to how we could better inform the taxpayers as to where their money is going. I sat down with Kelly and Patty and looked at the tax bill that we get and was wondering if we could make it a little bit more informative. So you have before you a change, if you will, at the top. You'll notice it highlighted in yellow, where we would break it down from the school tax rate would be the local school, and then there'd be an additional line saying regional school, and then municipal and overall. We're looking into having, that was not a big problem for, is it Opal?
Yeah,
Vision.
Opal
Vision. That was not a problem for them, but we were also looking to bring it more up front. So looking for that portion of the tax bill, which is up at the top, to be in red. They were supposed to get back to us with a quote, but they haven't yet. So considering the timing and that we have to get our bill out, I would like to have some discussion as to what you feel would be too much, or if indeed you want to go this route, and what you feel would be too much to have, because it will be an additional cost. That would most likely have to come out of the contingency fund, because there's no money left in the
I have no
tax.
more money.
There's no money in the tax assessment already. So, what's the pleasure?
It's hard for me to say, because I look at a lot of information. For example, and I see how this is broken down, I know where you're going, and it does make sense to a certain extent. Many times, like I'll use the last couple of years for an example, when the school has come forward, the regions come forward with a 0% increase, to me, that's a number, to me, 0% increase. And yet the town side is going up almost 12%. And you throw a number up, like you look at this, town government, $136, school, $263. But the previous year, it may have been $263, and the town was $105. So I deal a lot with percentages, especially when you throw that number out. It is deceiving to a certain point, because like I've said, the schools come forward with 0, left a lot of money on the table by doing their due diligence and not going up. But the town, and I've said this all along, but the town who sits here and says, hey, you can't go over 4%, you gotta stay with the 4, but then we turn around and go up 11 and 12% and take all the money that's left on the table and spend it. So, you can argue backsides back and forth, but I think, to me, I deal a lot with percentages on increases in moving forward. Because, for example, the land trust, a 10% increase in the land trust versus a 10% increase in, like, the police department or DPW, which is 2 large ones, is a large amount of money.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Ryder.
Well, again, I think we've had this discussion before. The town has not gone up 10 or 11%. Town can only go up to 4%. But I think when someone looks at their tax bill,
You know,
they want to know, excuse me, they want to know how much of my money is going to the schools, how much of my money is going to the town. I really don't think that the percentage is all that important, because really your taxes don't double or triple in a year. If I look at my tax bill, you know, and I have, now you're saying only what your tax bill goes up, that's what you're going to show as
No.
opposed to the whole thing?
You
That's
might
fine.
not be aware, I wasn't aware, because I just look at my little stub that I've got to bring in. I didn't notice that at the top, it does say what your tax rate is, and that it's assessed, and what amount of it goes to the school, what amount goes to the municipal. So we were looking to break that down further, as to an amount. When you add it all up, it's what you owe.
Right.
So,
Can't you just slip a piece of paper in there that says that?
No,
No.
no.
we discussed that too, Mrs. Ryder. Yes.
It's really not about the increase in the, it's not the annual increase, it's the percentage
Break it
of the
down.
school of the total bill. That's basically what it is. So it would never alter that greatly in 1 year, because you might be 62% versus 64%, so it would be $1 or 50 cents. We're not talking huge changes. So what you do is you actually take it's a calculation, you know, I do it at the back of the budget. I take each of the components and I itemize the percentage of the total. And that's what the percentage is used to calculate the bill. So all you're doing is really adding one additional component. I don't see it would change drastically year to year. And if it did, it's full disclosure. If it went down 1 year and up the next, it's still full disclosure, and that's what you wanted. That was my indication of my understanding of what you wanted after the last meeting. You said you wanted more accountability, and you wanted people to know how much they were paying for the region without having them bill. I thought this was a fair compromise, so that people could still see what they're paying for the region, the local school, and the town.
Just so I understand, so if from 1 year to the next, the taxes went up entirely because of increases in town spending, not because of any increases in school spend. And you were holding those two bills right next to each other. The breakdown would it only show an increase on the town side, or?
No,
It would show-
every number would change.
Okay.
So this year, say for example, it's 30, 20, 30, and 50%. So 20% being the town, 30% being Payne, I'm just making this up one. 20% being the town, 30% being Payne School, and 50% being Foster Gloucester Regional. Next year it might be 22, 30, and whatever the difference is, 48. So that's what you would see, and then the rates would be calculated. So if what we needed to receive was $20, so it'd be 28% of the $20, and that's how the rates would calculate. And then if your bill was $1,000, what's that rate times whatever to get of the portion of $1,000? So you would see it in two components. It would be broken down in the rate, so how much of that $20 per $1,000 that we have to calculate is for the school. So it might be $4.50, and that equates to, you see down below, they actually give you a dollar figure as well.
So I think that's what you were saying, is from one year to the next, the school spending might not actually increase, but on the bill, it would show an increase in the rate.
It would probably show a decrease in the rate.
No. It's completely.
Because because a lower percentage of a higher amount is still probably equivalent, so it'd be either equivalent, it depends. It's factual, no offense, that is the fact.
At some point.
What you're adding is just that, you're adding the local school.
Right. I'm breaking down,
I mean, it's the truth.
I'm asking to break down the school, local and regional,
Right.
not anything further.
Right.
And making it
It's not that
more,
much of a difference.
Regardless, it would still be the truth, it's
Right.
not like we're making up the number.
Well, I don't have a problem with this either, I like a lot of information.
That's what the percentage is.
Yeah, as the chairman of the region, okay, it's not the truth, because no matter what it showed, minus or plus, it wouldn't show up as a zero. That's a, oh, excuse me.
Not any-
Excuse
wait,
me.
yes,
May I finish?
Yes.
Okay? The second thing is, this is an attack on the region. It's a straight attack on the region, Denise. The region, Dr. Barnes just walked in, the Payne School has 240, 290 kids, whatever it has. It would come out as a number. Your percentage of bill for but nobody would say there's only 280 kids over there. The percentage of bill to the region would not say you have 800 kids from Foster there. It would just show a large number that you're paying for the region. It would encourage regional taxpayers to come out to the region and defeat the tax bill. And I'm assuming, Denise, I hate to put this on you since I like you so much, I see this as a straight attack on the region. It's not informative without more numbers in that piece. It should say, region bill last year was X amount of dollars, region bill this year, and not a percentage, it should show the amount of plus or minus decrease, and then Gordon would get what he wants, showing that all the money being spent probably for the last 7 years, as the region and the Payne School brought forward zeros, were being spent over here. 4% of the total tax bill of 13 million being spent only in the town, that's what should be shown, so the taxpayers can say, what the hell are they spending all that money on, versus saying the region is the largest percentage of your taxes.
we all know that.
What?
We all know that.
No, you don't.
It
No.
will.
No, hold on, Cheryl, you may be missing the point here. If the region had 5 years of zero, and Payne School had 5 years of zero over 7 years, okay? It still shows as the largest percentage, but it doesn't show all the money that's being saved is being burnt over here. So that's the information the taxpayers should not have, not that the region has the largest dollar amount of the 13 million applied to it, and it doesn't show how many, the differentiation of the amount of students that we're spending that money on. So I think this is a false statistic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It does say on our current tax bill, town government and school the school amount is larger. The only thing I'm suggesting is that we break it down from local and regional school budget.
And you've heard me say that it's not a true picture of what's being done. Gordon is saying there's a greater picture of what's being done with the people's tax dollars in this community.
If it goes by percentage versus,
Well, again, Kelly is correct, this is just for the current year, so to add the information that I'm talking about is really not relevant to this discussion, but to me, it's an important discussion that should be discussed somewhere, somehow.
It is.
More of a comparison than it is.
For months,
I know.
for months, we
And then you'll
discussed
have
that in the
people-
budget.
And you'll have people that have attended those meetings and sit there and say, the town didn't go up 11%, when in reality they did, the town side did.
It's the percentage that we raise in conjunction with the rest. I mean, as a whole, it's a whole.
As a whole,
If
it's
you're
4%.
trying to raise 100%, what is each of the schools of that 100%? It's really.
No, I understand that argument, but you understand what I'm trying to say, which is kind of not,
This is a
I probably
tax
shouldn't have brought it up, but it's really not relevant to this. And I really don't think, Ron, that this is an attack on the region. I think it makes it a little simpler for people to understand it. I just would hope that they would understand it in a little more depth than I do. And that's never gonna happen.
I wish it could say for the town government, what goes to each department. People don't know that unless they attend the budget. The financial town meeting.
Something's gonna be on the onus of that.
Right,
Yeah, right. That's-
So they want to know, and it is not at all an attack on Payne or the regional. I think both give very good service, but I do think it's information that should be out there.
Thought it was a nice compromise from where we were 2 weeks ago to this. I mean, and it cost us an insignificant amount, nothing, unless we do it in red.
Mhm.
And versus, how much money were you anticipating the increase if you gave them the taxing authority, which is what they were discussing, so I thought it was. Patty?
Well, let's be realistic too, if somebody reads the top of this bill, John Q. Public sees school, they automatically just think it's Payne School.
Mhm.
They don't know, they don't realize that that number is part of the region also. So all you're doing is taking it and breaking down the region and the local school, and if you add them together, it's the same number that would be there that says schools. Because I get many calls when these bills go out and say, I don't have kids in school, I don't have to pay that, I don't want to.
So now you get
That's what I
for
thought.
the house.
I live on a state where they pay for plot.
That's a good idea.
It's on your bill. Every year, it's on the bill.
I need to draw it back. Any further discussion?
Well, one of the conclusions I think throughout the meeting with Dr. Barnes was that if people are concerned about the budget for the region or for Payne School for that matter, they should get engaged
I
in the
agree.
process.
I agree.
Even if the information is more complicated than is necessarily presented, just by breaking it up this way, may provoke more people to engage.
And that would be my intention, not to vote it down, but to get people there.
To
We
vote
might-
positive, because they see such a large number, they learn so much.
It's been positive all along, hasn't it? So, I mean, and I've attended many of them. So,
I don't think it has to be in red. If it's there, and they want to read it, they can read it. Why?
Well, Denise gets a bill every week.
I
She had, I never know going downstairs.
It's gonna cost $1.
Make it larger.
Make it larger. I think it is,
We're gonna try, but there's a lot on the bill. Unless you start issuing 8.5 and 14.
So we haven't had a motion yet. And we have a lot of discussions. So, I will entertain a motion for discussion purposes as follows for the tax bill presentation.
I make a motion that we accept the changes to the tax bill as presented in this document.
Second.
Any further discussion? We do need to discuss if it is in red, if we choose to do it in red, how much is too much?
What's it add to the bill?
We don't know that we tried to get a quote, she didn't give it to us, so.
And that was, that,
So that makes it three
One
colors.
question.
Now, what are
Aren't
you
your
gonna,
tax bills a different
Just
color
as well.
every year?
Yeah.
It's just
so
a
red
red
might be a
here's my
problem.
question, what are we gonna highlight in
white.
red?
the whole
Just
top
make it
section.
Okay.
Okay,
And not just the schools, I'm not
all right,
supporting
People
the
will see that it's
municipal,
there.
the local and the regional school. That, all that's highlighted in yellow would be in red.
I think Renee has a point, depending on the color of your
Right.
tax
It's
bills,
orange,
that's,
the red is-
yeah, forget it, you're not gonna
The
see
tax
it.
bills are white.
The
I
tax bill
changed
is
them all
gonna be,
to, I changed the real estate bills to white.
they're gonna stay white?
I would like it that way.
Is there, why do they change colors, just to signify the years?
That's a question I've been asking for 6
But
years.
there's no state law or
no.
No, no, absolutely not.
Registration stickers every year are a different color.
Yeah, but that makes it, there's a reason for that, but, I don't know,
Yeah.
just so you can tell the cost.
I know, well, so what's, do we want to have a cutoff amount?
What about the chestnut?
I mean, that would definitely be shooting from the hip. How would we,
Well,
You don't make the deals on chestnut.
Patty, what does it cost now?
is it gonna, because
$5,500 to print the bill.
White is the cheapest.
Not to color it paper, we can color it.
what if,
I don't know what color ink, how much the color ink will be, that's.
No. what if we make the proposal as is, then it's the way it is, without the red?
Sorry.
I feel like I'm in the twilight.
I thought it was a joke. It's mocking Jim.
Without the red, and then next year look into it as red.
Or you could say 500 or less, we'll do it, 500 or more, we will.
Yeah, I like that idea, it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of money to show how much money was spent.
Exactly.
Come on, Charlie,
Well,
Bill.
I honestly, I think it's good that for the town government too. I think it's,
It's highlighted, it's bold, right? Already?
yes.
The bottom?
Yes.
So do we want to pick an amount?
500 seemed like a reasonable.
That's crazy.
So, do you want to amend?
I think that's, I think that's crazy because we nickel and dime things to death.
Oh, yeah.
$200, $300, we're gonna say 500 to put something in red that every person in this room, in this town, should be able to look at and not have it highlighted for them to see the breakdown and know what the heck they're spending their money on. That's just nuts, and I'm gonna vote no.
Chestnuts.
Mr. Dillon?
To highlight it, when we have over 4,000 residents, 1,600 households, and we have a 120 person turnout at a financial town meeting, or a couple of hundred, and then maybe 100 at the region, most people aren't concerned about this anyways. So I don't put caution next to it, put a word next to it. They're not gonna read it anyways. So there's no point in highlighting it, so hoping they would read it. If they wanna read it, they will.
Exactly. I agree with you.
Is it that important, really?
They don't highlight your interest.
We just spent 2 hours discussing this.
I wanted to bring forth to council, for council discussion.
And if you highlight it, they're still gonna call Patty and ask her the same questions.
We're,
And my answer's gonna be, I don't know.
All right, so we have a motion on the table right now to change the tax bill presentation to include local school and regional school without it being in a red font.
I can't hear what they're talking about.
I try to be the teacher and get louder. The red font. So, that's our motion right now, it's been seconded, that's what we will be voting on. Presenting it the way it is without red font, but breaking down the school to local school, regional school. And honestly, I'm wondering how many people are gonna know what the local school is. But we will go with that. So that's what we're voting on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Do we have any other future agenda items?
No red highlight, right?
Just the,
Right.
Giving the number of letters.
Put a yellow ribbon around it.
Instead of running school. I know, but aren't they good people who really run?
No, I just understand money, because then you get to talk to people, you guys will go good with that.
I know. Okay, we are done. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.